Alright, so I found a 15/16 socket. I didn't have a millimeter that was close in the size. That's pretty good, 15/16. I'm sure it's a millimeter, maybe a 23 or 4 or something. So I'm going to try and zip this bolt off. There we go. And then next thing I'm going to do is I went and rented this tool from AutoZone. I'm going to see if this works. Alright, and 19 millimeter for this. What's the end of its travel? And boom, harmonic balancer's off. And next we're going to take the timing cover off. These are all 10 mil bolts. Remember that there's 2 coming up from the bottom. Take those out first so that you don't forget those. So you don't want to rip it off and have those sitting there and forget about them. She'll bend them all to hell. And I believe these are all the same size. Bottom ones. So I'm just going to try to crack this loose with a flathead. Alright, there we go. Got our cam sprocket, oil pump, timing chain, got our tensioner. So doesn't look too bad in there. Actually, as I'm looking in here, if you look over here, we got a guide that broke off just sitting there in the old oil pan. So that's why we're changing the timing chain tensioner to the LS2 dampener style. That's just simple little block V configuration right there instead of this stupid plastic rails with this tension spring thing. So we're gonna get rid of all that. But yeah, it is pretty common. You'll see that depending on the mileage of the motor. And it looks like it got sheared off. So that whole thing's gonna get thrown away. Okay, next thing I'm gonna do before we take off the oil pump, I'm gonna go ahead and take the oil pan off so we can disconnect it from the pickup tube. 10 millimeter all the way around. That one's tough because of that. Okay. So there's that little piece. Keep that in mind. Remember those long ones? That should be all of them. And then I'm going to put all these in a baggie. And I'm just gonna try and crack this loose. There we go. Whoa. I think that's maybe a part of the tensioner. Doesn't look like a bearing, but kind of looked like it for a second. I hope that's not some part of the bearing. I think it's just part of the tensioner. Other than that though, decently clean. Alright, so we took the 4 bolts off for the oil pump. I'm going to take the 10mm bolt off for the pickup tube that's going to the oil pump so we can actually pull it off. And that'll get that loosened up. And that should come. Just kind of break it off the O-ring. There you go. There's the oil pump removed. So I'm gonna go ahead and set this in the oil pan for now. I'm gonna get a gallon baggie, put the oil pickup tube and the screw that goes to it inside of there, and then I'm gonna put this in its own bag that has the 4 bolts that go to it. I'm not entirely sure what I'm gonna do yet, but we'll see. At least we'll have it all together and not lose it. This is the point where you really want to be really strategic and, you know, bag everything, tag everything that you see. Alright, so we have the 07 GXP. So this is an 07 LS4. So this is when they went to a 1-bolt cam sprocket. If it's before that, you might see the 3 bolts, kind of more of a traditional one. We will swap that out for a traditional 3-bolt sprocket when we get our cam. But to get this off, it is, well, again, 15/16. It's the same size as the crank one. It's not perfect, but it's pretty close. So whatever close is that millimeters, or just 15/16. So there we go. There's the cam bolt. Then go ahead and take this off. And then there you go. Here's your timing chain. And you can see here pieces of the part that broke. I'm assuming maybe that long piece was inside of there. Possibly that was in the oil pan, but there's that. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take off this tensioner. That's going in the garbage. But I'm going to save the bolts in case I need them. Probably won't, but... Now, I am going to... There you go, right there. There's the tensioner. I am going to throw this in a bag for now, a little Ziploc bag, and just hold on to it so it's all together. Just if I want to reference it later, I want to make sure I got it. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and take the cam retainer plate off. Again, this is a T40 Torx. So mine are not bad. I think one of them was pretty close to being, one of them I had to crack loose pretty good. Overall, they're not bad. These can be a little finicky if they're seized on, but there's that. And the gasket's pretty much totally gone, so I'm assuming maybe this was leaking a little bit into the timing cover. And then what I did here was I just went ahead and threw the bolt into the cam bolt back into it, and you're just going to gently pull this out. Again, we're not going to be reusing this cam. You don't got to be super careful, but we're also going to be changing the bearings. Just kind of gently pull it up. There we go. There's our cam. We're going to go ahead and turn the motor over and start taking off the windage tray. First thing that we're going to do is we're going to take the pickup tube off from this side. We'll go set that in the oil pan for now. And then we're going to take the windage tray off, so we'll start with that. 13 millimeter. And there's that. Pickup feed looks pretty clean. There's a couple little pieces of something in there, but not bad. Gonna take the tray off. So what I went ahead and did here is I cleaned off all the cylinder heads with some brake clean, and then I numbered the cylinder heads. So 1, 3, 5, 7 on the right bank, and on the left bank obviously 2, 4, 6, 8. So I numbered them with a Sharpie, and then over here I have my tray, and then I numbered the sides 1, 3, 5, 7 so that these all stay in order from what they were taken out. And then I took a breaker bar and I cracked these all loose. So I got the harmonic balancer bolts in here, and I just got some vice grips on them to keep them turning around. So I cracked all these loose, and then we're just gonna go one at a time. I'm gonna shoot them off with my gun, and then I'm gonna take the end of something soft and pop them out the front, and then we'll go set them over in our piston tray. Best way I found to do this is essentially break all your bolts off, 11 millimeter. So just make sure it's angled where you can get them. Then I just take the cap off, make sure that the bearing's in with it, just kind of set that aside for a second. And then what I'm doing is turn the motor over so that it's almost at top dead center. Make sure you don't bind that up. Just like that. So just get the piston almost completely at top dead center that you're taking out. And then I'm just taking my breaker bar and just very gently sticking it at the end. Then I'm just going to push with my hand out here, and there you go. Boom, comes right up. And then I'm gonna go set up my piston tray. And then remember too that these are cracked cap design. So with these ones, they actually break these and crack these, so to get them to separate. So every single cap is exactly matched to its piston rod. You can see it's all different. It's kind of like a broken, jagged edge. It's kind of crazy, but and each one only goes on the same way, only on that piston. So as soon as you get it off, make sure you put the rod cap back on with the bearings in there for now. Tighten it down so that you don't lose it, and make sure it's the right orientation. It'll look pretty close even if you have it the wrong way, but it'll line up perfectly when you tighten them down if it's proper. Almost where you can't hardly see the line anymore. So All right, so we got all the pistons out. Here's our rotating assembly. Feels pretty good. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the main caps off. So 10 millimeters from the side on each one. Just going to break them loose. I already did that one. These aren't super tight. I'm going to take a 15 millimeter with my bar. These are all 15 mils. And try to break these loose. $13 mil. Those boys are tight. We cracked all the bolts loose. 13 millimeter, 15 millimeter. So take these caps off. There's one. So there we go. Pretty straightforward. So we got the 10 mils out of the sides of all of them, all the way around. One on each cap. 15 millimeter studs, and then 13 millimeter bolts. So these caps should be free. They might give us a little bit of trouble if they're in there pretty good. There we go. Sweet. Boom. Not too bad. There's a little scoring in there. Definitely not. There's our thrust bearing there in the middle. Again, not too bad. They look pretty clean, honestly. So what I just realized is I don't think you can get the last main cap off unless you have the rear timing cover off, because there's a lip right here. It kind of goes into it. So just real quick, gonna pop the flywheel off. 15 millimeter bolts, and then just gonna tap this and pop it loose. And there you go. So 15 mil bolts, zip those out. I just threw a towel on the other side of it this way and just pinged it with a hammer, rotated it, pinged it, and it popped off. So, and then over here, to get the rear timing cover off, it's a series of 10 millimeter bolts. So just get a ratchet on it wherever you can. You're probably gonna need a short socket for some of these. Get this off, and then we should be able to get that cap out, because that lip is just covering up, letting that cap get free. So if I was to do this again, before I even threw an engine brace on this to put it on the stand, take the flywheel off, take the rear timing cover off, it's got your main seal. Take that off first before you throw it on the stand, so that you're not, because you can't reach all these bolts, which are 10 millimeter, unless you basically have a wrench. So yeah, but we got it off. 10 millimeters, got it off. So just gonna pop this out, and then hopefully this main cap is now free. You can see the lips there. Yep, it is. So just kind of stuck in there, but we'll pop that out. It should be good to go. All right, y'all, that's essentially all there is to it. Got everything laid out here on my table. Got my pistons all numbered. Got my main caps there. Just cleaned them up to look at the bearings. Got my crank in here. I can pull that right out right now if I want to and take it to the machine shop. So next step is essentially I'm gonna just call some machine shops, see what they say, see if it's something where they want the crank in it with the caps on it and leave the bearings in, or they want me to take the crank out, take the bearings all out, and just throw the caps in just loosely, just set them in there with no crank in it, and give it to them separately. So yeah, I'm gonna call them and do some research on it and see kind of what the next thing is I need to do. The bearings really don't look that bad. I don't know how much it actually needs it. If it does, I'd like to get it cleaned at the very least though.